my name is Gabrielle Lewis and welcome to Ignite and Inspire. I am a yogiologist which combines psychology and yoga and meditation as a healing modality for the mind, body and spirit. And I have been blessed with so many amazing people in my life and wanted to share some amazing tools and experiences to help bring awareness and inspire you. So I am joined today with the beautiful Athena, who is a psychotherapist, and she is also a Kundalini yoga meditation teacher. And she's a very spiritual being.
Aren't we all?
We all are. We are beings of light. So tell me a little bit about your spirituality, what spirituality means to you, and any spiritual practices that you may have that you want to share.
Well, my spirituality, I guess, as it relates to my work or just generally?
Just generally,
okay.
And then how you bring that into your work.
Okay. So, I guess, I meditate every day.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I'm spiritual in all sorts of little ways,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's not something I practice, but something that's lived.
Right.
So
that's beautiful. I like that. I think that's very powerful.
Yeah, it's true. So, but I think that I wasn't always like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I used to sort of live much more in a place where I was doing everything, and which was really hard. Took a lot of energy.
Right.
And so now when things aren't going the way that I, want them to, right, then I'm recognizing that,
right.
And I have a completely different perspective on what's happening. It's probably
Mm-hmm.
because there's something else that's needed,
Yes.
or something else is trying to come in that's not really getting the space or energy to do that because I'm focused somewhere else.
I think you hit the key thing, perspective.
Yeah.
And I think if we just shift perspective a little
it just gets
bit.
a little broader,
Mhm.
so that we're including who we are as a sort of ego I,
Right.
And then taking in the self, which is also us too,
Mhm.
but that spirit self,
Right.
us, our soul, whatever you want to call
Mhm.
it, God, whatever. And then more of us is actually present in the world too,
Right.
and however it wants to manifest.
Mhm. And so you are a psychotherapist.
Yes.
How, because I know you bring your spirituality into your work, how do you do that? And what do you think the benefits are for having a spiritual based way of doing psychotherapy as opposed to not including anything spiritual
Right.
in that?
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of what I just said in terms of like what I've learned in my own.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a person who is a psychotherapist who hasn't done psychotherapy herself.
Right. Right.
But I think along that journey, the key word that keeps coming to mind while you're speaking is consciousness. And that as we are evolving, I might be sitting across from somebody who has a really different idea than me about what is and what isn't. And that's absolutely wonderful and celebrated. And for me to be wherever anyone is an important thing because they're the ones that are evolving in the room.
Right.
And I am just there
Right.
to serve them in whatever their life's journey is, and so with all of their beliefs and attitudes included, So I think that the consciousness of all that is, right, has so many different shapes and sizes and expressions, and so whatever is coming through someone, I'm only there as a midwife, as a witness, as a reflection. So that their own awareness and their own soul's path is sort of doing the work.
Right. For them.
Yeah.
Just to be.
Their own wisdom within them.
Yeah.
Is what's getting amplified.
And you work with children, couples.
I've worked with children, with trauma in their backgrounds, adults with trauma.
Right.
Right. We've all had our challenges, right?
And we all have our story.
Yeah, we all have a story, and it's part of who we are and makes us the unique being that we are. And I guess I work with individuals, I work with couples, but I guess what I was thinking was that part of what I also really come from is that the parts that are really, really dark, the parts that are really hard, the parts that have been painful for us are also the thing that gives us the most, I want to say, spirit to grow through.
Grit.
Yes. And I mean, that's hard to say when we're in the suffering.
Exactly.
Really hard to see that when we're in the suffering. But there is something that's getting called,
right,
in us to meet that's otherwise not visited typically if things are A-okay.
Yeah. I can totally relate. I went through my down periods of life, and I was very disconnected from myself and my higher consciousness. And it was that connection that I had to work through to get to where I am. And I wouldn't be where I am now without having gone through that. And it's very hard, like you say, to see when you're in that moment that this is exactly where I'm meant to be. But when you're out of that, it is so much sweeter. And it's that, that darkness and light that, so.
But we're evolving and we're getting refined in those experiences to understand things we never would have otherwise known.
Yeah.
So, I think.
And so then how do you bring the spirituality into when you are working with clients?
I think it's in the moment.
It's in the moment.
So, and I believe that because we're all connected, that physicists now can prove that to us finally, something we all knew and now we have science for. But I think that sometimes I am tuning into intuitively or empathically to what is actually emerging in the person, and I'm holding kind of with some awareness and relatedness to what's going on unconsciously in them.
Right.
So their unconscious is speaking to my conscious, or sometimes before I can get conscious of it, it's speaking to me unconsciously, and we're both as a team kind of working together to see what's trying to be realized in someone. So in that way, I think that's the spiritual part, and that I'm tuning into that as they are as well, and working to that with that goal, with that relationship within themselves in mind.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful and powerful, and I definitely think it's so needed. Everybody has so many stresses that are in their lives, and we all go through things, and even just driving to work sometimes can be a very stressful experience, and we don't have the tools to be able to deal with these things, let alone other traumatic events that happen in our life. And so I think to have the psychotherapy and then to bring that element of connecting to your higher self, I think that's such an amazing combination.
Yeah. The thing that somebody said to me recently about how much they love the rhythm of psychotherapy too, because you come typically on a weekly basis.
Right.
And so it's like your check-in. So
absolutely.
With yourself.
Yeah.
In a way that otherwise, sometimes you need a midwife.
You do. And, I think it's so important to have some kind of at least weekly thing or daily practice. I have my own daily practice. You said that you meditate daily, and I think it's so important to have something, and especially if you're coming to psychotherapy where you are guided by somebody like yourself and you're really connecting to yourself at that moment of time, because we have so much that is going on, we forget to connect with ourselves. And we don't just forget, it's just it doesn't even come into our consciousness. And then when we take that time out to sit with ourselves and to really start processing things, it's so powerful and it's so amazing. So I think to be able to have you there as a guide for somebody to come and have that support of somebody, I think is very beneficial. I really do.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time and
You're
coming
welcome.
here.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you.